All right.
All righty. So we are here with the lovely, 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 my friend Sherri Divband again. And this is what I'm embodying today. I just wanted to show you my new t-shirt arrived today. This was designed by Liz, whose Etsy shop will be down below because she is the most beautiful, beautiful human. And we've worked on this one together. So be happy, everyone. How are you doing, Sherri?
I love that shirt, and I think that's a good way to start today. I think people need to find their true happiness again, their true north, and that's the challenge we're having right now. And our idea today came to me recently based on what I'm seeing it happening right now in the collective, and how much confrontation and conflict has risen over the past probably 3 to 6 months. And I think we've lost our true north a little bit, and it's time to navigate a little bit back. And today, I think talking about our inner child and healing and the shadow self and soul fragmentation is really going to help people navigate through this challenging time and redirect their attention back to their soul healing, because that's really where we are right now. And so I think that that's a good place to start today. What do you think, Catherine?
I think I was so pleased when you came up with this because I think it's so, so needed because all of us, and Sherri and I are having a conversation with you all today. We're not trying to teach anything. We're not trying to say that we've got all the answers. We're just sharing our conversation because all of us are observing all these things that are going on. And, I was listening on my lovely dog walk this morning and is flat out to lovely Bruce Lipton, who I really, really love and admire all his work. And the thing is like every single one of us, anyone who's watching you or I, is aware of the programming, the subconscious programming that's done at all aspects from early childhood, but is continuing right here, right now, in terms of so many different ways that we think we might be aware of, but behavior is showing us. If you want to know what programs are ruling your life or are running in the background for you in your subconscious, take a look at what's happening in your immediate life, not other people's life, your life. And it will immediately tell you what programs you still got running, good, bad, and ugly.
Absolutely. I feel like the biggest spiritual lesson right now, or the blockage that people are experiencing in this healing phase. I think that, first of all, I think 3D, 4D, 5D is triggering a lot of people. It's causing a lot of debate. So if we just take that out and just say that we are shifting in consciousness, simply, that's really what it is. At the root of what is happening, we are evolving, we are raising our consciousness, and we are getting our sovereignty back. I don't know if anyone can debate that. I hope not. And if they are, they're probably not watching this anyway. So,
Yeah.
so through this healing phase that we're this transformation that we are going through collectively and individually, myself included, Catherine and I are not gurus. We are not saying that we're better, and we're not saying we're already evolved. We are evolving at the same time as everyone else. And I have triggers, and I am working on my stuff too. I still get angry. I still cry. I still yell at my husband and apologize later. Like, I'm still human at the end of the day. So neither one of us are perfect. But what I can say is that through my work and Catherine's work, we work with a lot of people and help guide a lot of people through this transition period. So I work with extensively with a lot of clients and animals, just like Catherine. So this is why we like each other so much. And I think that the biggest challenge people are having right now are the triggers and blockages that are deep rooted from inner child. And what that means is that, as a soul, we come down in this physical body. In this particular life, we're talking about this life, in this timeline, in this body, this here and now. We're not talking about any parallel lives or past lives or future lives. Just right now, let's focus on this one. As a child, when we're born, different experiences that we have, both good and bad, shape who we are, who we become. That's all part of the process, good and bad. We need to have challenges to persevere through. That's how we learn. But then when we have traumas, whether it's abuse from our parents or neighbors or siblings or whomever, our soul will start to fragment. So we'll have fragments of ourself, and they become lodged and lost in the time and space of that moment, of that trauma. And we suppress it because we're taught, unfortunately, as part of our programming in this denser non-loving and compassionate and humanity and environment that we've been in has cultivated this society of suppression. And numb yourself, distract yourself with this book, with this TV show, with this movie, with this, unfortunately, with this drug or this drink. Our society is designed to just distract and numb us so we don't feel anything. Oh, it's okay, don't worry about that, just sweep it under the rug. And we grow up as adults that are unsure of ourselves. We have a lot of limiting beliefs, and we have a lot of deep-rooted programming, and we need to recognize and honor that version of ourselves that's still trapped in that moment in years ago from childhood, and some of which we don't even remember. A lot of children disassociate from the traumas that they experience. It's really easy for a child to bring themselves out, to actually bring themselves out of the body during traumas that are repetitive, especially with abuse from parents and family situations, and worse. And then they don't remember it later. And I can't tell you how many clients that I work with that will say, Sherri, I can't tell you about my childhood traumas because I don't remember, but I know they're there. I know it. I feel it, but I don't have a conscious memory. And I said, well, that's your soul protecting yourself. It's down there in the subconscious somewhere. And it's interesting because when I did transpersonal hypnotherapy long time ago, and I was really into hypnosis. So I'm a master transpersonal hypnotherapist, I guess is what the title would be. I don't do it anymore. But what I did for many years is I did regression therapy, and I helped people regress back to childhood and also past lives, because transpersonal is different than traditional hypnosis because it encompasses the mind, body, and soul. And so you do go back to other lifetimes as well, just like Dolores Cannon's QHHT. It's the same thing, almost identical practices. I discovered that later on because my mom did the other one, and I was like, they're exactly the same. But I would do sessions with people and I would regress them, and they would remember, they would find themselves in a memory where they were a child and they were experiencing some level of abuse. And I didn't know what to do. My training, even though I was a master hypnotherapist, actually, I didn't receive the training of, okay, now that we found the memory, like really, truly, what do I do to help them heal it? It's okay, great. Now we see it, but no one really taught me how to heal it. I had to teach myself. And I realized, oh man, there is a fragmentation of this woman or man still lodged in this moment, because energy is not created nor destroyed. And if it's not transmuted, it's just, there's a fractal of you just sitting in that trauma still. 40, 50 years later, you're looking back and there's still that version of you still trapped there in that moment. That energy, the essence of that experience still exists, which is why you're triggered 40, 50 years later by that, because it's still there. And so I had to come up with different ways to help people heal that version, to allow that soul, that aspect of them to be released and reunited with the oversoul, with the higher self. Soul retrieval is what a lot of shamans call that. And so my point right now is I feel like that is where we are right now as a collective. We are being triggered and a lot of things are surfacing, and when people don't know what to do with it, they don't know how to heal it, and they don't know how to honor that version of themselves because no one taught them how to heal it. It's always suppress, suppress, numb, 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 distract, distract, distract. And so people are being triggered left and right about things that may not even have anything to do with them, triggering things that anger in them that they don't know where it even stems from, or perhaps it's anger from when they were 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. I still get triggered when I'll give you an example. I'll put myself on front center stage here. I was bullied a lot as a little girl. Girls were so mean to me. And to this day, I feel there's a fractal of me that hasn't healed from it, because I see myself getting triggered when I hear or see someone bullying another person. It makes me so, like, I get not goosebumps, but butterflies in my stomach. And I feel like it's happening to me all over again. And I have not fully healed from that. But I'm continuously working on it, and I'm trying, and I'm recognizing that that is an issue for me. That's my journey. Other people have other journeys with physical abuse and narcissistic behavior and tendencies and all sorts of things. I mean, there's a plethora of traumas, and maybe people have multiple. But we need to recognize and honor the inner child, that the other versions of us, the other fractals of us from the past that still need to be healed. And that's what this 4D or whatever we want to call it, this transformational process, this healing stage that we're going through is so hard and so challenging right now. And it's such an individually, what's that word? Intimate
Yeah.
experience. But unfortunately, everybody's watching while we're healing and everyone's judging and has something to say about it. And if we can just stay in our own lane and just focus on ourselves and not look at what our sister or husband or neighbor or someone else is doing and how fast they're doing it, then we can truly focus on ourselves right now, which is what we really need to do.
I think I agree with every single thing you just said then. And I think it is hard for people, and I hate using that word. Something I don't normally use that word. It is hard because for me that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But I can't think of a better way to explain it in terms of the fact that every day our lives and our experiences are giving us messages to ourselves. Now, how we choose to react to them is a choice, and the more tools we've got in our toolkit, the more we can actually choose how to react rather than go into the subconscious programs of how to react. And what I think is you know, as humans, we're living in collectives, we're exposed to lots of different things. So when we look at the judgment side of things, again, you can choose to look and sort of say, I notice I'm reacting to this situation in this way. What is my message from this? So rather than beating yourself up, for example, about how to do it. Now, how do I know that's true? My husband and I can look at the same conversation or watch the same video or read the same book, and we can react completely different to it. And it comes back again to good old Wayne Dyer. If you squeeze an orange, doesn't matter whether that orange is moldy, old, frozen thing, you're only ever going to get orange juice out of it. You're never going to get grapefruit juice out of the orange when you squeeze it. And you know that everyone sort of says, well, yes, it's their fault I do this, but no, it's not, because otherwise every single person would react to that trigger in the same way. Similarly, even, you know, we look at epigenetics, and we now realize that a lot of disease is due to the environment rather than genetics. But again, you can have two people that can be working in the same chemical factory, and one will get cancer and one won't. So there's so many different levels of complexity to this. And it's not about blaming ourselves, but if we don't recognize our own behavior, you know, I honestly don't believe there's anyone that will be watching this video that doesn't understand how we are all connected at some level. Whether you want to call it the divine matrix, whether you want to call it God, whether you want to call it source, whatever it might be, that there is a connection between everyone and everything. As you just said, we're all just energy, and energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only be transmuted or changed. And when you realize that and you sort of think, right, okay, do I want to live my life reacting like this? Do I feel good when I react in this way? And the answer might be great. Yes, I do. And in which case, great, good for you. But it might be, I'm not really proud of myself for reacting in that way. Okay, fine. What tools have you got in your toolkit to do it? Because when you learn any new habit, it's normally a bit awkward to begin with. Do you remember when you learned to drive over in the UK? When we learned to drive, you're taught to hold the steering wheel with both hands and go like this. And then once you can drive, you hold it with one hand and you go like this. Yeah. So when you're learning a new habit, perhaps you've got a subconscious program that teaches you to react in a judgmental or critical way. And all that's really doing is stopping us looking at ourselves. Well, fine. Once you notice that, and I definitely had that program and I'm still working on it. Once you notice it, then you can consciously choose. And if you can't say something nice, then don't say anything at all. And then the more you practice saying something nice and see how it shifts your reality, then you get that positive feedback loop into place, and it gets easier and easier and easier.
Yeah. I mean, our words have power.
Yeah.
You know, and right now this is truly a war of consciousness, and at the root of consciousness is energy. That is what is happening right now. There's a spiritual war on energy. Energy is the currency, right? In this system. Did I freeze? Oh no. This internet here is the worst. I don't know what to tell you. It just says
yeah, no, that's fine. It happened last time. I just paused some things.
Thank
but
you.
I do
So
we're talking about the energy, and then it went.
I know, right? And this is a war on an energy. And when I did a video on this the other day, when you're a child, oftentimes, or if not all the time in this society, the way it's designed is we're constantly being told how to think and how to react. Our parents are saying, don't do that. This is how we always a lot of people are telling their children how to react based on what they think they should do, based on their life experience. And it's the biggest mistake we can make. We should let people figure it out for themselves, because if you don't allow someone to make a decision or navigate through a challenge on their own intuition and their own gut feeling and their own knowing, then they grow up not trusting it. And then they go to school and the teachers tell them the same thing. Oh, don't do this. This is how you do it. And then the police officers and the medical industry and everyone's constantly telling us not to trust ourselves. Oh, this is how you do it. This is the right way. Read this book. And no one can make a decision. And no one has the critical thinking skills to navigate through any challenge, because they can't trust the left or the right brain. They can't trust their intuition or their cognitive self, because they need someone to help them make choices, which is why there are so many people, unfortunately, so dependent on a lot of the truther community right now on what to say, what's happening next. And again, we're not learning the lesson. And I believe that this is a lot of what the delay is that we're experiencing in our consciousness and our evolution, is that people aren't getting the lesson. You need to stand in your power. Look in the mirror, say, I love myself. I no longer consent to any drama, any negative energy that's not of my highest good. I attract abundance. I attract positive relationships that are of my highest good and my growth. I live in a space of love and kindness and compassion. And we need to shift our mindset, because then our energy will shift, and then we will find ourselves attracted to people that maybe we didn't consider before, that are in a better alignment and a better resonance. But there's too much fighting and bickering going on right now. And I think it's triggering a lot of people, and it's taking them off of their path of healing. And it's a lot of distraction. And I think people need to recenter, reground themselves, because all of us, even myself, have programming that we're working through from our life experiences. Like I just mentioned, all of those things. I was in that system, you were in that system. How bad or how severely we're affected is not even measurable, because everybody has their own consciousness and their own perception of that. So I couldn't even say what's good, what's bad. But the severity of it is being shown right now based on people's ability to navigate through this ascension period, this growth period, on how they react, how they judge, if they're able to forgive, if they're able to love themselves. But if they have this program in the back of their mind that's running in the back of their head, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you don't make enough money, all of this negative self-talk, which we talked about in our last conversation together, we have to switch it to gratitude. What am I grateful for? So grateful that I'm healthy. And it's really hard to look at yourself in the mirror and not critique things. Oh, I wish I had this color hair, or I have these wrinkles, or whatever the thing, pimples, whatever we don't like about ourselves. We see that first, because we're trained in all the beautiful actresses and actors and everything that we're told that we're supposed to look like. And we have lost the sense of, well, hold on, what's beautiful to me? I don't know, because I don't know what that looks like. I've been shown my whole life what beauty should look like. So especially these young women, even my daughter, who's 8 years old, she thinks that what's beautiful is what she sees on TikTok. And she tells me, I'm not perfect. I'm not pretty like them. And I'm like, oh my God, turn off the TikTok. We're done with that. Like, we have to find ourselves again. We have to fall in love with ourselves and rewrite the program. That's what hypnosis does. It helps people rewrite the programming in a positive construct of mindfulness, gratitude, because everything in life is about repetition, whether it's good or bad. So we're constantly repeating the same negative things, then we're going to have dis-ease in the body, disbalance, anger, resentment, and then we're more likely to buy in to the fights that are happening, and we get engaged in them, and we get sucked in. But if you live in a space of gratitude And the repetition in your mind is, I'm so grateful, I love myself. You know, even if I'm not perfect, I still deeply and lovingly appreciate myself and respect myself and others. And that's another repetition that's now forming. And we have the power to do that, but no one is taught that. So people are struggling right now on what to do.
They really are. And I completely get it. You know, when Sherri and I are talking about this, it's because I've over the last few weeks, I've really gone back to some of my good old favorites. So when we're saying trust your intuition, it doesn't mean that there won't be certain people that you'll be guided to that can help you really get those tools in your toolkit to cope with whatever you're going to recognize and cope with it. So, you know, I've gone back to some of my really, really good ones that I used to listen to ages ago, Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza, because there's so many useful bits of gold dust in there that for me, where I am personally, just give me that reminder that I need. Oh yes, you know. And the other thing that really helps me is see Indy flat out in the background, is when you're not loving yourself. What really helps me is to look at the way your animals look at you. And if you haven't got animals in your life, you can normally go and find a pigeon in the park or something, you know. There's always something that you can connect with in nature and think, wow, this is really beautiful to see how young children, you know, a young child never sits there, a 2-year-old doesn't sit there and say, I'm not wearing that, or I don't like my curly hair, or anything in this. Everything is just accepting for how they are. They're constantly touching their body like kittens and dogs are, because they just want to explore everything about this amazing suit we've been given in. So I really do encourage people, and certainly for me, I have tools and techniques that I will go to, might even be some sort of therapist, or you know, I had a problem with my feet recently, and I knew it was like not a problem with my feet, that it was coming from elsewhere, partly trapped energy, partly trapped emotion. So I went to one of my friends who's a really good therapist to get her to shift that energy in me. So recognizing it is so wonderful, because when you recognize it in a way where you're not sort of blaming yourself for having it, then you can do something about it and everything changes. I mean, I hear people talking about this being a prison planet, and in my reality, this is the furthest thing from a prison planet. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Are there things I wish were different? Yes. Do I think that nature can be a cruel place sometimes? Yes. But I'm completely hopeful that we're evolving in the right direction, and it's changing in the right direction, and that little steps that we're making can make it better and better and better each day. And that's why Christmas is so special, because it happens once a year. You know, these challenges, as you said at the start, that we're facing, they do make life better for us. There's always a lesson in them. There's always a learning point. There's always something positive that we can take out of it, however bad the situation may seem at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and maybe we can share a couple of tools, because I've said a lot, but we haven't actually given many tools for people to utilize. And I teach a class recently. I teach a class, an Ascension class, and it's 4 weeks. And I had the first one last night of a new group. And I was telling everybody, we have to simplify things. That is my kind of my motto. And and it shows my growth, right? Because 10 plus years ago, when I started teaching and learning a lot of new things, I was very meticulous and methodical about everything. It had to be a protocol and step 1, 2, 3, 4. And I had this harsh lesson one time where my mentor was like, "Oh, what's your process?" And I went through like my 35 steps. She was like, "Sherri, like, what are you doing? You're overcomplicating everything. One step." And I was like, "One step?" She's like, "One step." And so I started, that was the first epiphany that I had, which I know it wasn't an epiphany, it was a life lesson. And then I started shifting everything. Well, now when everything that I teach, I always say, how can we simplify this? Because maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago or previous, humanity wasn't at a consciousness that was ready for instant healing. So we needed those steps in order for people to truly take the time to understand, and it was gradual. But I believe now things have changed, and many people are ready for instant healing, and it can be quick, and they don't need to do step 1 to 35. It could be step 1 to 3. Make it easy. So everything that I teach, Everything that I teach is very simple and very ambiguous. I always tell people, this is just my way of doing it. If you find a better way, good for you. I'm just kind of laying the few bricks down, and then like you can design it however you want. I'm just kind of showing you one way to do it, but a simple way. So when we're talking about soul retrieval, or we're talking about inner child healing, one simple thing that you can do, and a lot of it's visual. So if there are people out there that are not visual, that's okay. You don't have to, like a lot of people, when you say close your eyes, visualize a hammock and you're in the beach, and you tell them to see all this stuff, and they're like, I don't see anything, Sherri. I'm like, okay, well, you're not visual. That's fine. You have other gifts. Let's figure out what they are. And maybe they have a knowing. They don't see, but they feel. Maybe they don't see, but they know. Maybe, everybody has their style. It's okay. You don't have to see through the third eye because your eyes are obviously closed. And so you visualize yourself in some sort of a safe space, whatever is safe to you. It could be many different options. It could be the beach. It could be a small, quaint cabin in the woods. It could be actually in a meadow, in nature. It could be on the moon. It could be in the stars, immersed in the stars in the galaxy. Whatever is your deemed safe space, whatever you feel is comfortable for you, that's where you go. And you close your eyes and you visualize it. And if you can't visualize it, you feel yourself there. You're there. You say to yourself, I see this, I see that, I feel this, I feel that. And once you do that, you visualize yourself in front, your version of yourself. So Catherine is a little girl, whatever age comes to you, and you call her in and you stand in front. So you're looking at yourself as a younger person in your safe space. And once you're in your safe space, you want to place yourself in a nice big golden bubble of light. So wherever you are, it's protected. You've got a grid of light around it, and you are fully protected, and it's only permeable to high vibrational energy and healing. You say all these things because our intention is the most important part of this recipe of healing. Your intent, if you feel it, it will happen. If you don't believe it, there's nothing you can say or do that will work, because in your back of your mind, you're like, oh, it's not going to work. So if your intention is to protect yourself, and this is what you're doing, and so it is, we have to get out of our head, and you visualize yourself in front of yourself, and you honor that version of you, and you surround that version of you with pink light and love and compassion, and welcome them to join you once again, because it is now safe for that fractal of you, that fragment, to come back to the oversoul, the higher self, the soul of light, and visualize and hug. Say whatever you feel like you need to say in the moment. Forgive her, forgive yourself for not knowing better. A lot of people who are physically or sexually abused as an adult, do you know that they are upset with themselves because they should have done something? They say, I'm so mad at myself. Why didn't I stop it? So now they're angry at themselves. Shame on you for being angry at yourself. It's not your fault. So you have to apologize to yourself and say, I'm so sorry. I didn't know better, but I forgive myself now, and I know better now, and I love myself. And then you visualize yourself in this beautiful bubble of light. If you're physically abused by a male or a female or whatever the situation, you honor it, recognize, apologize to yourself, forgive yourself, whatever you feel like you need to do in that moment, and visualize this beautiful pink light. And then the two of you just merge together as one. So that slow fractal, that fragmentation, is being transmuted now with your oversoul, with the light. And now it's no longer stuck in that moment of trauma anymore. You could spend 10 years of therapy and do what I just told you in one afternoon that will yield the same amount of healing. Exactly. It doesn't have to be that long. And you can do that for many different, write a list. These are all the things that I can remember. Or you can make it simple and say, you know what, I don't wish, and I also don't believe that we have to go back and re-experience the trauma. A lot of therapists and a lot of hypnotherapists believe that you need to be regressed back and relive it. I don't believe that. I don't agree. But again, that's my opinion. I feel as though it's a conscious choice to heal. And if I'm ready to remove myself energetically and transmute that experience into love and light and compassion and forgiveness, it's my choice. It's my free will. And I can do that without experiencing and going through and rehashing what happened. I don't believe that. And if someone doesn't agree, that's okay. You honor what you feel is right. And so you can just visualize yourself as a whole, and as a child, as a whole, you know, this is you, your whole childhood, and you do that exercise in one sitting, but really feel it and really believe it, and your intention needs to be clear. I believe that you could probably do that just a few times and notice a shift in yourself where you feel lighter, because energy does have density to it. So the lower vibrational energies of fear, resentment, shame, regret, all of those low vibrational energies actually have heaviness, which is why people feel like, oh, there's that saying, I have an elephant on my back. I feel like all this pressure, or it lodges itself someplace in the body or the energy body outside. It's dense. That's why when an energy healer works on somebody like myself, I can find it and I can feel it because it's dense. If I go through somebody that has just pure loving, the most beautiful energy, it glides right through. Like I don't feel anything. You don't feel it because it's too high frequency. It's high frequency. There's not too high. It's high frequency. You can't feel it. There's no density to it. So you will feel lighter when you do these activities, but you have to make it part of your routine. Just like brushing your teeth, your spiritual hygiene is also important. Brush your teeth, drink your water, eat well, but then you got to practice this mindfulness of the mind, body, soul connection, and merging them all together, and honoring and recognizing your spiritual side too, not just the physical, not just the consciousness.
Oh, I absolutely love that. And it's something that I practice regularly. And to me, that the Great Awakening is us realizing that we have everything within ourselves to heal ourselves. You know, I think we are the med beds. And I think one of the things, I so agree with you that it's a choice. You don't have to go back to the trauma. You don't have to understand who gave you these programs, where the programs come. If you choose to, and that's an approach that works for you, fine, but you don't have to, because each time you go back and revisit it, you are actually strengthening those neuro connections in the brain as well. So, you know, the beauty of me, so one of the tips that I love is just sitting there, as you say, drink your water, do your gratitude. And for me, when I'm out of my dog walks, it's the perfect time, because I'm so at peace when I'm out of my dog walks, is to sort of say, right, let's self-assess, what programs am I running at the moment? And I don't need to know where they've come from. Just my life, my circumstances, my emotions are reflecting those programs back to me. And so once I can see that there's a program that's obviously running that I don't want anymore, then I can make a conscious choice. Okay, well, what do I want to change this for? And there might be different ways and tools and techniques to do that.
Excuse me.
Depending on what that program is. So for example, if the program might be, let's think of a current example, where I'm feeling frustration about how certain things are going, and the frustration, I might notice straight away and project that on about frustration about how other people are reacting to things. And then I'll notice and sort of say, well, why am I worried about how other people are reacting? How am I reacting? Why am I frustrated? Then I will go into sort of, it normally makes me laugh now, Sherri, it really does, because it literally happens that quickly. Okay, yeah, what am I reacting to this? What program am I running? And then for me, my absolute go-to is breathing and gratitude. Yeah. It never lets me down. And breathing, you do not have to. You can choose to follow. I'm a bit of like when you were saying, I was laughing when you were saying you used to overcomplicate it. So did I. And I love having certain techniques I can reach to and things, because I can feel the energy of that person when I'm doing it. So personally, I find Wim Hof really uplifting. So I might decide to do that. Or I might decide what I did this morning, and I'll just slow my breathing down and be aware of it, and just make the out breath slightly longer than the in breath. Literally that simple. It doesn't need to be, don't need to know what you're doing at all. And then I just look around me again. I might look, I might smell, I might feel, I might taste, you know, what am I grateful for? And it's amazing how quickly that can shift things for me. It really does. And, you know, if you like to write it down, you know, writing it down is even more powerful. And recently I've gone through an old exercise that I've used for years, you know, writing certain things down and then burning it. So there's so many different tools and techniques that you can use with what resonates for you. I'm laughing about the burning it, because when I write these things down, I normally burn it, because when I was a child, my sisters found my diary and used to read it out to everyone.
Oh no.
So now I don't leave anything written down that I'm just not happy for anyone to find. So, you know, but I can laugh about that now. It doesn't raise any anxiety or trauma in me at all. I laugh about it, and I'm thinking, well, I'll just burn it. And then I don't have to worry.
Yeah. Yeah, laughter. I mean, what you just said, and I think we talked about this last time. Laughter is so important. And that's what a lot of the inner child work will do. So when I work with clients, this doesn't happen every time, but a lot of the time I am met when I connect with that person, when I actually go to do the work after I'm done talking to them, and I kind of close my eyes and I connect, their soul shows themselves to me as the child version of them. And they're usually, it's like they're in the little, like one recently, it was a cute little girl in a sunflower field with this cute little dress, and her hair was back, and she was running through the sunflowers, and that laughed. I love the sound of children's laughter. It's like my favorite thing. And you know, the giggles, and she was laughing, and it was sunny out, and she came up and jumped in my arms and gave me a big hug. And I was like, well, hello, you know, like I almost wanted to cry in that moment because it was so beautiful. And you know, our inner child is not all about trauma.
Yeah.
There are fractals of us that are also positive, that are strapped in there like, let me out of the box, because you tuck them away because you have to be so stern and so tough and so serious. And you know, our adults are so serious. You know, I always tell my kids, I feel like more of a child. Like I relate more to the kids than the adults. Like I'm like, let me hang out with the younger people, you know, because some of the adults are so stuffy, and you know, they're reading their newspaper and so proper, and I'm like, ah, like, you know, no judgment, that's their thing, but like that's not me. And I'm like, I think my inner child is bursting out, like, let's have fun, let's, you know, my husband is so funny. He loves bubbles. He's like, you know, almost 50-year-old man. He's like, let me put the bubble machine. He puts it in the backyard, and in the pool, and the dog's trying to eat the bubbles, and it's the funniest thing. The kids are laughing, the adults are laughing, and I'm just like, this is what life is supposed to be about, like these moments of fun. Like we don't have enough fun as adults. Like we need to have laughter. And you know, I said this last time, our favorite thing in this house, no joke, is funny cat videos. We have it on our YouTube, and we will sit there for an hour at night, and we are all like on the floor giggling, like, you know, belly laughing, crying. We're laughing so hard. And then it'll transition to funny animal videos, and then next thing you know, it'll navigate to people, and it doesn't matter. It's making us laugh. It's funny, and it's shifting the tone, and that's what we need to find right now. Where I believe that a big part of this evolution that we're going through is for people to find their true passion again. What are you passionate about? What do you enjoy? If money didn't exist and that wasn't the catalyst or the fuel of everything that we do, what would you do with yourself? What would you do? What would you love to do? You know, and that's where I think this is part of the healing process, is shedding those old layers of our self-healing, finding joy again, even if it's through the moments of laughter that in the moment may seem like a waste of time to others. Oh, in that hour of you laughing, I could have gotten all this stuff done. No, like leave the laundry for later. Like sit down right now and just enjoy yourself and your family and your loved ones. And then that morphs into, okay, what can I do in my life that's going to bring me more joy and more passion on a daily basis? That's what everyone should be focusing on as much as possible, whether when they're going out on their walks with their dogs or in the shower. I love my two favorite places to get, well, three, is shower. I do shower meditation where I do my breathing, and then as the water comes over, I visualize just it clearing my whole auric field and energy body, and it's just going down the drain, anything that's not serving me anymore. When I run, and then when I'm outside in nature, it's the most healing. And you know, those are the moments that inspiration comes. And oftentimes when people are asking for it, they get frustrated when they don't get the answers. But the problem is you're too much in your head when you're asking for it, and then frustration lowers your vibration. So my number one tip when I teach intuitive development of some sort of whatever it is that I'm teaching them to connect with their higher self, their spirit guides, whomever, I'm like, try to focus on the moments where you're not asking, and it will come when you're washing dishes, when you're driving in the car, when you're randomly just in the backyard and you're not asking. Those are the times you need to be listening, because most of the time your answers come in those moments when you're not asking for it. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's absolutely spot on. I think, sometimes when when there's that desperation there and you're really looking for a solution, you're doing it from your head space, not your heart space. And then it's very, very difficult to hear the answers. So just taking it back a step or two, taking a break, parking it, putting the intention out there, like you said earlier, is really, really important. So we talk a lot about every word is casting a spell. Is that a positive one or a negative one for you? And there's no better way than to look at yourself on video and realize, I had no idea I was saying this. Because it is quite incredible, again, how much of the way we communicate we don't realize. And how often are you misunderstood by people because what you think you're saying or how you think you're saying it is actually, and sometimes yes, it could be the other person interpreting it differently, but sometimes when you watch yourself back or listen to yourself, you're thinking, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I can see how that can come across. So I think being very cautious with the I am is really, really important. For me now, I've done enough sort of reading, research, practice, feedback from the universe to know that every time you're using those words, I am, to be intentional about it and only ever use them in the positive. So, for example, when we're trying to train our animals, or when you've got a little toddler, we all know what happens if you say, don't go in the cupboard.
Yeah.
Don't this. That's not what they hear at all. They hear cupboard. Oh, let's go look at the cupboard. The good old thing, don't think of a pink elephant. Everyone's immediately thinking of a pink elephant. And that's what I think with when we're talking to ourselves is whatever way works for you, shower, breathing, sitting in nature, looking at a fluffy animal, whatever it might be, laughter, get yourself into that stage and then declare your intention. Don't declare your intentions ever, ever, ever when you're in that fear state or that stress state.
Yeah. Yeah. Or making any life choices, or punishing yourself, or grounding your children. I did a video recently on that. I was like, don't ever punish your children when you're angry, because you'll never follow through with what you say. Oh, you're grounded for a month. And like a couple of days, if you don't follow through, then they don't value what you're saying. They don't believe you're going to follow through with it because you made a knee-jerk decision. And hindsight truly is 2020. When you look back, you realize, oh man, a lot of things make more sense because you're not in the vibration or the density of anger, fear, resentment, jealousy, guilt, whatever it was. And you think more clearly. And that's why people need to stop fighting with each other right now. Stop fighting, because then you're making all your choices in the vibration of anger, resentment, and fear, and jealousy. Even there's a lot of jealousy going out, and a lot of people are working. They're acting out of ego, the shadow side. I call that the nemesis in my book. It serves its purpose, and we need that shadow side. We do need the ego, but it's not serving us on our highest good in the longevity of our evolution. It's meant for certain things. And right now we need to find the spiritual part of ourselves. That's what we're here for. And another thing, I wonder how you feel about this, Catherine. We tend to hold it together in our life until we have that person that we can truly be ourselves and unravel and be vulnerable with. And unfortunately, sometimes that turns into that person being a punching bag, or them taking on too much. This happens all the time. You hold it together, you go through your day, then you come home, and then when you're with your spouse, you're just like, I can't be nice anymore. And maybe you're mean to them and you snap at them because oh, they're not going anywhere. So I don't have to fake it with them. And then maybe you're a little bit harsh with that person. Or you take it another step further where it's, our children. Our children are struggling right now, just like everyone else. We have to give them some patience. We have to be patient and have compassion for them. The other day, I'll give you an example. Skylar, my 10-year-old, went out with his older brother took the two younger ones, Skylar and Aramis, to a trampoline park with some friends. They took them for a few hours. So mom's not there, so they have to feel comfortable with their brother. And I guess Skylar got a headache because he gets headaches sometimes if he's in the trampoline park jumping around too much, not drinking enough water. And so I guess he had a headache. He held it all together, went out and got ice cream. There were other kids there, so he didn't want anybody to see that he was in pain or suffering. And the second he walks in the door, I say, "How did it go?" And he runs over and just starts bawling. And of course I look at Jordan, I'm like, "What happened?" And he's like, "I don't know, Mom. He was totally fine until we came in the house." And he saw me and he just let it all out. He's like, my head's hurting. I don't feel well. And he was waiting until he was with his person, which was me, that he could feel safe and tell the truth and not feel like, he losing his pride or be made fun of. And he held it together that whole time. No one had any idea. And then he comes home and he just lets it all out. And, I think that that's important because all of us are doing that. Every single one of us is doing that to some degree. We're holding it together. And then we go home and we're with our significant other or our children or our parents or our grandparents or someone special, our best friend or whatever, confidant, and we just let it all out. And so 2 points here: have compassion for each other because nobody knows. We don't know what anyone else is experiencing in their day. I have no idea what they're going through, what they're fighting, what battles they are, what they're saying to themselves, what they're feeling. But we also want to have compassion for those that we are unloading on to make sure that they're also okay. This is a very multi-dimensional healing that's happening right now that is so massive that it has so many layers that it's impossible to understand all the elements because it's so big that we have to think about all of these things.
Yeah, we really do. And, with the partners, it's a really important one because whoever that partner in your life might be, because it is so important. We do expect so much from them often, and no one person can fulfill all those different roles. And I think over the last couple of years, people have noticed a lot of division often in partnerships where, one person thinks one thing and one person thinks another, but that doesn't have to be a deal breaker.
Yeah,
it can be if you decide for you it is, but it doesn't have to be because again, going back to sort of gratitude and sort of thinking, well, why am I with this person in the first place? What qualities attracted to them? How much am I changing? How much effort am I putting into this? Am I projecting a lot of mine onto this other person? And it is quite hard often because you can slip into bad habits very, very easily, but that's where communication really, really helps. And have you got, even whether it's with a friend, with any sort of relationship you've got, if you can be honest with each other and sort of from a place of love, pick each other up when you are slipping into those behaviors, because we can all slip into 2-year-old behavior when we want to, and if we're allowed to as well. And again, you can laugh about it because if you can recognize that you're doing that and someone can nicely say to you, oi, then it can stop you in that spiral of negativity. I mean, I've got certain friends that can be a real laugh, but I've consciously removed myself from because all they ever do is gossip. Yeah. And I notice then when I'm in that group, it's really easy for me to slip back into that behavior pattern.
Yeah.
So, you're either one of two things. You're strong enough to not let it affect you and not do it, or you can remove yourself from that situation whilst you learn.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, in terms of, because there's so much sort of going on for everyone in the collective and things, what would be one of your tips about sort of taking away the anxiety of all that?
Going within. I mean, I know I sound like a broken record, but the more people focus on themselves and less about what's happening in the world and with truthers and podcasts and all of these things that you have focus on what you have control over. You don't have control over anything else that's happening in the world. Or what people are arguing about, or the attacks that are being made on people who were once friends. focus on yourself and do not engage. My biggest advice to people right now is don't take sides, do not engage, and do not allow yourself to be derailed and distracted, because this, I believe that this is partly a spiritual test for everybody right now, this evolution. And we talked about this a little bit before our conversation right now or today, is stay in your lane and focus on your own healing and your own evolution and live in gratitude and fall in love with yourself and try to focus more on what you do have and shift. Our thoughts are so powerful. Our thoughts are so powerful, just like our intention is. So what you're thinking is what you are creating. And if you are thinking hate, 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 or I'm so mad at that person, or I can't believe they said that, or this or that, or I can't believe this truther is doing this now, all you're doing is distracting yourself and marinating yourself in that vibration of deceit and fighting and this and that. You got to redirect, come back, and just maybe turn off the internet for a couple of days and take a break and focus on yourself. Be with your animals if you have them. They're so ready and willing to heal us right now. I mean, my animals are following me around everywhere I go. They just want to be with us. And not just me, my husband, my kids, like they want to be around us. They're trying to help us. They're trying to calm us down. They're trying to redirect us in their own way. And like Catherine said, if you don't have animals, go sit outside in a parched bench, and there are lots of birds and deer, depending on where you live. We don't have deer in Florida anymore. I'm used to deer everywhere. Here we have
Oh, I love deer.
We have all these like iguanas and lizards in the trees, and I'm like, we don't have deer here. So okay, so look at the iguanas. Whatever it is, the ducks in the ponds, the alligators, or wherever you live, you know, you have indigenous animals, and just have gratitude and shift our perspective and our thinking, and do not engage. Do not engage, because it's not our battle. Most of these people don't even know these people personally, and they're getting involved in hate speech. I mean, we have to grow. This is our opportunity for growth right now. And this is a test on how each and every person responds to just about everything that's happening. And you know what the greatest news of all, Catherine, is? And this is my favorite thing to tell people. Every day is a new opportunity to be a better version of you. So if you fail today, you can do better tomorrow. And I fail sometimes, and I do something against what I tell other people to do, because it's a knee-jerk decision made out of ego and my stress that I'm experiencing. And then I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. I tell people not to do that. And instead of really punching myself down, I say, get up, redirect, breathe it out, and move forward. And that's what I do. I forgive myself instantly. I say, and then I move on, and I don't think about it again. And I apologize to whomever I yelled at, or, you know, the kids or whatever. I'm so sorry. Mom didn't mean it. Because we are allowed to be human. So every day is a new opportunity, a clean slate to be a better version of yourself. Use that opportunity. Use that night's rest to wake up and act like it's spring. All right, new beginnings. Let's try this again. You know, and people forget that. And then instead of doing that, they punish themselves, and they keep themselves in this purgatory of shame. And guess what? It's your choice to do that. And how long you keep yourself in that jail of shame is completely up to you. No one else is able to control that, but yourself. We decide.
Yeah. And I think this is one of the biggest things, is compassion for all things great and small. And one of my tips that really works for me and a lot of people that I work with, which really gives you a focus for redirecting on yourself rather than everyone else, because that's a very easy distraction. Yeah. It's just get yourself 3 very easily achievable habits to do, and make sure you keep doing them for 3 weeks. So it might be that before you get out of bed in the morning, you're going to write down 3 things you're grateful for. It might be 5 minutes of breathing, or 3 minutes of breathing exercises, you know, when you first wake up. It might be making sure you have a big glass of water before you have your first coffee in the morning. It can be something so small. It might be that when you're sitting washing up at the sink, you're going to do a few simple stretching exercises. Honestly, I really mean it. Doesn't matter how big or small these are, depending on what your goals are. But when you set yourself 3 little new habits, and either hold yourself accountable. I mean, there's really good apps you can get on your phone. You know, we can use technology for us where you can tick them off. You can have a little diary, you write them off to tick them off. You can have a wall chart. You can have a child that you're working on it with you. It's someone to hold you accountable where you report in. But just focusing on 3 little tiny self-improvement things, you'd be amazed at how quickly that shifts things for you. And then after 3 meets, if they've become habitual, if they haven't, then keep going with those 3. If they have, you might want to add another couple to it. But make them achievable and make them relevant to you, whatever your circumstances are. And I just find it such a positive thing to do. It makes you feel good about yourself, and you will start shifting energetically as well, which will have a big impact on anyone that you're interacting with.
Yeah, I love that. Make it simple. I really like that, you know, because sometimes we set such high goals and high expectations for ourselves. And then when we fail, we're like, see, I told you I can't do it. I can't do what you do. And I'm like, well, what were your goals? And you're like, oh my gosh, like, let's simplify it a little bit, you know, go easy on ourselves. Like you said, some of the simplest things can make the biggest shifts. Even if you, like you said, just taking a moment in the kitchen and stretch a little bit, and that can that in and of itself can open up energy blockages in your body, and you had no idea. It took that.
Exactly.
Like that. You know, drinking good water too. You know, we got to drink the right kind of water. There's so many tips. But at the end of the day, it doesn't, this is the thing about all the products out there too. Not everything is going to work for everybody.
Absolutely.
So you have to find what works for you. So just because I say something works for me, it doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. And I know that firsthand because I've tried things that other people have said, oh, this is life changing. I've been doing it and it's changed my life. And I'm like, well, let me try it. And it didn't do anything for me. Does that mean that that person lied? No, it just means that for my body, it didn't work that well. So people have to find what works for them. And I don't believe we have to spend a lot of money. It starts up here. I'm telling you, you could take the most expensive products in the world. If you don't change what you're thinking, how you're reacting, and how you think about your life and yourself, none of those products are going to work anyways. None of those products will work.
Completely. And it's how serious you're setting your intent. You know, there's so much help out there in every area of your life in so many different forms that it's really about how serious are you about wanting to make changes. And if we're not serious about wanting to make changes for ourselves, doesn't matter how many off-planet people come down to help us, it doesn't matter who our saviors are, doesn't matter what technology is coming, it's not going to work. You know, it all starts and ends with us, and then there's all these beautiful enablers that we can then bring in to help us on our journey. So
yeah,
I've loved that again, Sherri. I really have. Thank you so much, and it's lovely to see you in sunny Florida. We're having a lovely sort of autumn over here. It's definitely gone quite autumnal, but it's beautiful. Everything's greened up. So I think last time we spoke, we were still in the middle of our drought. And that's what my final words are. It's amazing how quickly everything recovers when you give it a chance. So, you know, 3 weeks ago, we were sitting there, everything outside was brown. It was just, you know, the trees were dying, the plants were dying and everything. A few weeks of rain, nature has recovered so beautifully. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and we can do the same. So maybe we'll end it on that beautiful note. If nature can do it, we can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. If Catherine can do it, we can all do it. We just have to believe. We have to believe. And that's where the inner child of you, when you were 4, 5, 6 years old, tap into that version of yourself that believes anything is possible, that has the most vast imagination that you've ever had your whole life. Channel that version of you right now that believes that you can transform just like the trees and the plants and the flowers that come back every spring after a harsh winter. Now here in Florida, it's a little different, but but you know what I'm saying. So it was a real pleasure, Catherine. You're one of my favorite people to talk to. I think that I want to help people. You want to help people. We're not in it for drama. I hope this helps people watching today in any way, even if it's something small. And I look forward to the next time that we chat and what we get into next.
Me too. And all Sherri's links, as usual, would be the videos below. Please do. I've noticed you've been putting a lot more on Instagram as well, haven't you?
I have, yes.
Yeah. So but check out Sherri's Instagram. What is your Instagram so that we can put it on there?
Well, I have the Aramis Creative Learning, and then I have
Yeah.
Intuitive Living. But we can put the links below for
Yeah,
that.
send me the links and I'll
Also,
put those below, because I've shared one of Sherri's latest videos on my community tab as well. So check that out, and obviously your YouTube is below, because there's so many resources there, and any parents out there, please check out the resources, because you've got such an amazing array of courses on offer for all sorts of ages. They're absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Catherine.
and we'll speak again soon.
We'll speak again soon. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching, everyone.
For watching.
Bye.